So I grew up in a country called Tajikistan, which was part of the Soviet Union. First language is Russian. My second language was Hebrew, which I haven't fully studied because I haven't had enough experience of living in Israel. I also studied German at school, and then English would be my fourth language. Growing up in the Soviet Union was a lot different than the life we have now in North America. It feels like it was a totally different era. It was a closed system. People were not allowed to practice the religion they wanted to. Although I lived in a country that was primarily Muslim, none of the Islamic studies were taught, and I don't think we had any, or probably was one or two a mosque around the city somewhere, but people did not practice religion much. Having said that, Jews still practiced quite a traditional lifestyle, and I grew up in a very traditional household. We would have all the holidays, and the religion was taught to us. I would say I became interested about exploring consciousness without understanding that concept of exploration of consciousness as early as I'm able to remember myself, which was probably about 7, 8 years old, because I would have dreams in which things would happen afterwards. I would have hints, and I had a very vivid imagination and intuition. So things would happen somewhere, and I would get scenery in front of my eyes how the whole thing happened. But the actual study started when I studied in university in Israel, which was a religious university. So part of the curriculum was Jewish studies of Tanakh and Torah. Through those studies, I realized that there has to be something else. I had no idea about spirituality or any of that. And then when I felt like I don't belong here anymore because it didn't resonate with me, whatever I was studying, I started looking outside of that box religious studies that offers the answers what God and creation is. The event that happened to me was probably the actual studies of Judaism. It created a lot of unanswered questions and a feeling that it was an ego driven religion. So that kind of didn't make any sense to me because I always felt as if we all were made the same way and we all have the same kind of qualities of growth and understanding what God is. But as I became an older person and I had an out of body experience, which took me to a place that looked like Earth, but it wasn't quite like Earth energetically and what was happening around me. And that happened after I read a book, which it was a metaphysical book by Daniel Andreev, and he gives this map of non-physical planes of existence and describes all of them. And it happened that I actually had a visitation to that one of those planes and a very vivid experience. And that just blew my mind. And that experience just I couldn't explain. It's just I went out of my body and I went straight to that plane of existence that he describes in his books. And the experience of that experience made me so curious to. It's like if you love traveling, you want to travel through the whole earth and see every country in the world you could possibly see. And here I am able to go into this plane and experience something that totally outside of a human idea of what reality is. And that sparked a lot of interest in me. And I didn't know how I'm going to do that, but the massive interest within me was already sparked. So I followed that experience by reading lots of different metaphysical books of a lot of different authors. Then I took an interest in studies of Abrahamic religions to how consciousness explained through religion. And then I took some interest into Hinduism, Buddhism, until I met a person who introduced me to Robert Monroe books. And after reading the book, which is, I believe in first book, he talks about creating an institute in Virginia where they do exploration of consciousness. And that was just mind blowing for me. And it was like, I didn't think about it twice. I found the number and I called them and I booked my first Gateway Voyage program, which was in June 2010. I've studied quite a bit of stuff ever since. Studied past life regression with Brian Weiss. I've studied healing when I realized that part of the growth is a healing process, healing of your own psyche, of your subconscious material, of whatever tension that created in the body, which is a conditioning from trauma. I took an interest into healing studies. So I began with Reiki. I got to master of Reiki, which didn't resonate with me as a healing modality. So I looked further and I came to this beautiful healing art, which is vortex healing. And ever since I've been a vortex healing practitioner. Some of the benefits of the many studies I had would include expansion of understanding of who I am and what human consciousness is and how multidimensional we are as beings and how the earth itself and the whole universe is multidimensional. The other benefit would be a personal benefit, which is clearing out a lot of trauma material, understanding of what my purpose is in a way that I stop seeing myself as this body, as Angelica, and having this life. I see myself as a multidimensional being. I developed an awareness in many other aspects of myself that I haven't had before. I developed extrasensory perception that helps me a lot with understanding how this world works. And when I meet a person, I could somewhat say or feel or sense what kind of person in front of me and what, in a way, because of my healing practice, I could see what they need and where they need to go in terms of their exploration of consciousness, providing they have that interest. I also have a consulting practice, which came through the studies of the healing art of vortex healing. And it just overall changed me as a person. It made me doubt myself less, love myself more, believe in what's happening in my life to be there for a purpose, and it gave me a great sense of purpose in life.